You are listening to the Lose Weight for the Last Time podcast with me, Laura Conley. Okay, you guys, this episode is so juicy. I interrupted the entire lineup because I was like, that was good. The podcast peeps, they have to hear this. So, what I'm going to share with you today is an interview that I just did with my friend Jenny J. She is the founder and CEO of EmpowerU and runs an amazing business. And she brought me into her community to talk about what will actually get you to your happy weight, what's actually going to work. And so we talk about hunger hormones, like what they even are, why they should be and need to be, in my opinion, balanced. Over desire. We all, as a culture, have an over desire. We talk about mindset, like what does that actually mean? And how do you apply that to weight loss? Hunger cues, how to hear them, how to respond to them, how to be able to listen to them. And we talk a lot about emotional eating, especially for people that might not identify as emotional eaters. So these are like the real reasons that you haven't been able to maintain your happy weight or to get there in the first place. These are the things that will unlock everything for you when it comes to permanent, sustainable weight loss. So we had so much fun. I was like totally on a high. So without further ado, I'm going to give you this episode. And today, the big ask is, will you send this podcast to 2 or 3 of your friends that you know, we all have those friends that you know will benefit? That would mean honestly the world to me, you guys. My mission, as you know, is to free the moms from the freaking prison that diet culture is. And if you think that this episode could help just one mom or one woman in any way, do them a favor. Somebody probably did it for you at some point. So I would love it from the bottom of my freaking wild heart if you would shoot your BFF or your weight loss bestie or your worker outer buddy this episode. Okay, I hope you enjoy. Let me know what you think. I love you all and have the best freaking week ever. Enjoy, enjoy, enjoy.
All right. Hello, hello. Thank you all so much for showing up today. Hope you are having a wonderful day. I'm really excited for this guest speaker because we actually know each other in real life. It's so funny how just the world works, but maybe it was 10 years ago. I don't know how long it was, Laura, but we were connected through Nike. Like we joined this fitness trainer training, almost
Yeah.
like to help us get better as fitness instructors. I literally forget what happened out of it, but we ended up being in this group and we all met and we connect. After that whole program was over, we stayed connected on Instagram, and it just so happened that she started popping up on I guess my Instagram again. And then I listened to one of my favorite podcasts with Lori Harder, and she was a guest speaker on that podcast. I was like, oh my gosh, she has totally transitioned from being like this yoga instructor and is now more of like a nutrition weight loss coach for women. And I'm like, we have to connect. So I ended up reaching out to her on Instagram, and it was just great reconnecting. And it's just so cool that we're both in the same general niche of helping women. And so I'll just share her bio. She is a certified life and weight loss coach, and she helps mamas who have been painfully struggling with diet drama and who have tried everything to lovingly lose weight for the last time and free themselves from food forever. She is on a maniacal mission to do this so that her clients can pass down a beautiful legacy to their children around food and bodies, weigh what they want, and live the life they have always dreamed of without the weight and drama in the way. So thank you so much, Laura, for being here. I'm so excited to chat with you.
Oh, thanks for having me. I feel like it was so meant to be that we got to reconnect.
I know. It's so cool that we're just kind of like doing the whole weight loss stuff, the nutrition stuff, especially for women. So
Yeah.
I'm curious because I don't really know the transition. How did you become who you are today? Like what led you to this niche and why are you so passionate about it?
Yeah, it's such a good question. I honestly think I left corporate, which was 12, 13 years ago, to lose weight. I'm like, I literally think I became a yoga teacher so I could work out more, which is like crazy. I mean, part of me really loved yoga and meditation and teaching it, but I'm like, oh, if I become a yoga teacher, then I can work out more. And I was like feeding that diet brain. And a couple of years into teaching yoga, I was like, I wanted something more. So I added in coaching and I started coaching on golden handcuffs, which just means you're at a corporate job that's kind of cushy and easy, but it's not fulfilling. And so I had a big coaching practice, coaching on freeing yourself from that. And then I had my daughter 7 years ago. So I was kind of doing when we were together, well, not together, but when we lived in LA together, I was doing a lot of the golden handcuffs coaching and a lot of teaching yoga and meditation. But when I had my daughter 7 years ago, the story goes, I was like 6 weeks postpartum and I had just gotten out of the shower. I was butt naked and I was beating myself up for not bouncing back into my pre-baby jeans. And I kind of had this out of body experience and I was like, WTF, like, what are you doing? You just had this perfect baby. And meanwhile, we had actually been in the hospital with her for like a month. Like we just had survived the worst time in our lives. And I was like, really, Laura? Like we're not like if we're gonna do this, like we're not passing this down to her. I was like, I can't pass down me talking like this to me to her. I can't have her sitting sophomore year of high school having calorie counting contests. I can't have her standing in front of the mirror, pinching a love handle, trying to like squeeze into whatever bathing suit when she's 17. I was just like, no, it's like something came over me. And so that's when I went on that kind of crazy mission. I'm like, there has to be a way. I had yo-yo dieted. I had tried everything. I had like tried to love my body, but it like was kind of a lie. So I feel like I had this like love-hate relationship with my body. I was always the person doing like the green juice cleanse, but then like overeating on the weekends. And so I was like, there has to be a way. I had really kind of accepted defeat. Like this is just going to be my thing, and it's not that big of a deal. But then I had my daughter, and I'm like, it is a big deal. Like this is painful. I don't like living like this, and I cannot have her living like this. So I'm like, there has to be a way. There has to be a code where I can love my body, where I don't have all the crazy food noise, and I weigh what I want. Not like stick thin or Barbie, but I did have extra weight on my body as I was yo-yoing through life that didn't feel authentic. It didn't feel like me. And what was kind of ironic is at the time, right? I'm like a yoga teacher. I'm supposed to be like woke. I'm supposed to be like evolved. I'm supposed to love my body. But it was a lie. I didn't actually really love my body. I kind of pretended. And I had this little whisper inside that was like, you don't feel like yourself when you don't weigh what you want to weigh. But I didn't know how to do that without starving myself. I didn't know how to weigh what I wanted to weigh without starving myself. So anyways, I felt like I finally listened to that little voice inside that's like, we don't feel our best when we don't weigh what we want, but I didn't know the how. And what's kind of ironic is like when I would say over my natural weight, over what I wanted to weigh. And again, this isn't like, I'm not talking like 100 pounds here, right? I'm just talking like a nice healthy weight. When I didn't weigh my healthy weight or my happy weight, it was because I was eating food at night and it from a place of not love, like not self-love. I just think it's so ironic. It's like I was eating my feelings. I was avoiding the shit that was coming up in my life by eating and numbing and escaping. And so anyways, I really feel like I did crack the code I didn't think there was a code for. And so now I have that same level of like conviction and passion for freeing the moms. I help primarily moms, women too. We like plant moms, moms of the group of friends, moms of dogs. Like we welcome everybody in. But now I felt like I have to help all the women that are struggling with this as well, because we have a whole generation of daughters and sons that don't deserve to inherit this. And even if we're doing a really good job, it's like our culture, it's like the air that we breathe, right? Is like, be this, do this to like earn your worth and your value. And so So that's kind of like the background. The Yummy Mummy was then the Yummy Mummy experience, which is 6 months to losing weight for the last time and freeing yourself from food chatter forever. That was born obviously from my journey. And yeah, so that's all I do now is run these 6 month programs. And my mission is to free the moms. Like that's what I'm here to
Yeah.
do. And it's like a calling. So yeah, that's like, sorry, that's a little bit of a long-winded version of that
No,
question.
I mean, I love that you share that because you're just sharing what every woman on this planet experiences and you're almost normalizing it. I think a lot of times people are so ashamed that they go into the pantry when their kids are asleep and they eat a bunch of chocolate and chips and they just feel alone in it. And you are using your social media and your platform to be like, hey, like, I see you. It's okay. Like, I am you.
Yeah.
And I know how to overcome this. Like, do you need help with this?
Yeah.
So, emotional eating can be a huge spectrum, right? Like, it can be full blown binge eating, really serious, and then it can be almost like mild. And so, can you define like what is emotional eating to begin with, and how do you know if
Yeah,
it's a
I did not think I
problem?
was an emotional eater, which was so crazy. I didn't think I was an emotional eater because I wasn't a big binger. Then there's nothing wrong or bad if you experience binge eating. Like it's really not. Um, Again, I want to like de-shame all these things that we as a culture think are like so taboo. I'm like, you guys aren't, we're not doing heroin, okay? We're like having a couple of like chocolate covered freaking pretzels here. So I didn't really realize I was an emotional eater because our culture depicts emotionally eating as like having the most stressful day and then coming home and having a carton of ice cream followed by like a bottle of wine and a bag of chips, right? And the way that I define it is, well, first and foremost, I believe that food is for fuel. Like that's what I believe its purpose is most of the time. I definitely think there's room for food can be used to celebrate, to connect, whatever. But most of the time, I really believe food's purpose is for fuel. And it doesn't mean that I don't enjoy my food. I love eating. I love food. It's just that's the point of it. And again, I blame everything on our culture, but in our culture, it gets a little messy because it gets wrapped up in a lot of celebrations and a lot of I just watch my kids going to soccer. It's like, why are there's donuts at soccer? Like, why do we have to have donuts at soccer? Like, there's food attached to everything in our culture. So it's impossible, right? And we grow up like, oh, did so and so hurt your feelings? Oh, you're disappointed. Let's go to crumble cookies. Well, that'll make you feel better. I like to say anytime you're not using food for what it's for, which is fuel, my belief, you can decide if you want to have that belief or not, that's an emotional eat. But I need to make this very loud and clear that emotional eating is not wrong or bad. It's just something that a lot of us do, and we get to decide whether or not it serves us and if we want to continue to do it. So I really like to neutralize it. Like, again, like I tell my clients all the time, I'm like, oh, you had a bad day and you had some cheddar bunnies? Like, big deal. Like, can we solve for it? Yes, but like we don't need to attach so much meaning and shame to it. It's like you didn't go shoot up heroin. Like it's actually not the worst drug that we could use. So that's how I kind of define it. Using food, like if hunger, the best way I can say it, if hunger isn't the problem, food isn't the solution. If hunger isn't the problem, food isn't the solution. And I get a little like kind of weird and wacky, but I'm like, would you just go lay down and take a nap if you weren't tired? No. Would you just like go poo if you didn't have to go poo? Like, no, you wouldn't. I know it's kind of weird. But again, because our culture, not your fault, because our culture has connected food to so many other things, we use it for so many things that it's not for. And then we end up with results that we might not like. Gut stuff, not weighing what we want, low energy, not being able to get in a good night's sleep. Like, so you just get to weigh for yourself. I'll tell you guys, like my husband's like a little bit of an emotional eater sometimes, but it's not a problem for him. Once in a while, once in a blue moon, he'll like go for it with like the chips and guac. And I'm like watching him on the couch. I'm like, he literally just ate dinner. He's definitely not hungry. But It's not a problem. His sleep's fine. His health is optimal. Like he's totally thriving. He feels the way he wants to feel in his body, right? So I give that as an example too, because I do want to de-shame it. And when we do de-shame it, we can actually look at it and be like, huh, is this something that I would like to course correct? Or do I want to like handle my stress a different way? I actually think it's a huge gift if we do emotionally eat, because what you can start to do is ask yourself, like, huh, I'm not hungry, but I am just like, you guys ever just like hang out in front of the fridge and you're like, should I have a string cheese? Like, or like be pacing in the pantry or whatever. I actually think that's a huge gift because you can ask yourself, like, what am I actually looking for here? Like, I'm not hungry. So, am I looking for comfort? Am I looking for relief? Am I looking for love? Am I looking for attention? Am I looking for fun? Am I looking for pleasure? What do I really need? And then we can design, or you can design a way to get that for yourself that serves you in the moment and serves you 5 minutes later, 5 hours later, 5 days later, and so on and so forth, right? I do believe that we deserve comfort, stress relief, pleasure, but let's do it in a way that like actually fills us up instead of like leaving us feeling worse later. Cause I would like wake up hungover from like stealing my husband's chocolate covered peanut butter stuffed pretzels, you know? And it's like, this isn't working for me for so many reasons. So, and I could go on and on about that too, but that's kind of how I define it. Anytime you're using food for what it's not for, probably emotionally not wrong or bad. And another way you can look at it is like, if hunger isn't the problem, food isn't the solution.
Are you saying wait until you're hungry to then eat? And if so, what is defined as hunger? Like,
yeah. So that's such a good question. So all of my clients, so I really take a like custom approach. Like, so I don't like to teach like one size fits all. I really believe that like we have all the answers within if we can, it's almost like rehabilitate the relationship with ourselves. Like we come out of the womb, like knowing how to listen to ourselves and listen to our cues. And then because of our culture, because of programming, because of conditioning, it's really hard to listen to ourselves and listen to like our hunger cues, for example. So it just depends on the client. It just depends the preference. Like, for example, like I knew I was getting on this call. I wasn't hungry, but then I have back-to-back calls. So I'm like, I'm going to eat lunch. I wasn't particularly hungry, but like that works for me in my day. But I do like my clients to like get back in tune with their hunger. So I teach something called the hunger scale. So like 0 would be like completely neutral. Like you're not even a touch hungry and you're not even a touch satisfied or sated. And so it goes 0 and then imagine a 10 over here and imagine a 10 over here. And then it's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And then -1, -2, -3, all the way, so on and so forth. So if you're like -2, maybe there's a couple rumbles. You're starting to get a little hungry. -4, you're really getting hungry. -5, it's time to eat. -10, you've never been there. Like you're about to die. You're like literally starving, like actually. And then over here, 1, like maybe I just ate something. 2, 3, okay, I just ate something, but I could still like jump on the trampoline or have a dance party with my kids. 4, like getting full. Like 5, 6, 7, 7, 8, 7, 8, like stuffed. 10, like you're like really contemplating, like maybe I should actually throw up. Like I feel disgusting, right? So I try to teach my clients, well, I actually just ask them a lot of questions so that they can figure out when they like to eat, right? Some of my clients like to eat when they're -2. Some of my clients like to eat when they're -5. And then again, some of my clients like to eat to a +4. Some of my clients like to eat to like a +2. I like to eat to like a +2 or 3 because I like to be able to have dance parties with my kids if they want to have dance parties. I want to be able to want to go for a walk around the block. I don't want to like lay on the couch and be comatose. Like I actually don't like that feeling of being overly full. So I actually encourage, and again, this is individual, encourage my clients and even my kids now to get to a place of sated or satisfied and not overly full. I do have the belief that like we're we're taught to overeat food. Like we are. Like look at our portions. So that's one tool that I teach my clients around this. And it is a practice. So like if you guys are picking up what I'm putting down and you guys want to kind of play with the hunger scale and just get curious about your hunger cues, know that it's a practice. You're not going to know exactly like, oh, I'm a +2. Like it's a guess. It's a scale with like black and white numbers, but it's kind of subjective. So for me, I always like using like the trampoline or the dance party because it's like more fun for me than numbers. But a lot of my like more heady clients, like they like the numbers. And again, you get to weigh your lifestyle against the hunger scale. Like if you want to eat with your family and you're not hungry, but you know you're going to be hungry 2 hours later, like eat with your family. Like we don't need to be so rigid. And like, I think that comes from like the diet brain that a lot of us have gotten over the years. I do teach blood sugar balance, and I really love to teach my clients to balance their hunger hormones. And once your hunger hormones are balanced, like you can really start to hear your hunger cues. I think it's hard to hear your hunger cues when your hunger hormones aren't balanced, because what can happen is our blood sugar will spike and then it will crash and we'll get hormonally hungry, and that looks like hunger, and that's not true physical hunger. And that's at least what I teach like my clients. And so for me, this was like way back in the day, probably when I knew you, like in my dieting days. My husband and I were getting in all these like nothing fights. And he was like, I think it's because you're hangry. And I was like, well, screw you. I literally hate you. Like, it's obviously not my fault. But then I was like, oh, shoot, you're totally right. Like I actually am coming home from work hangry. And anyways, so my point is that true physical hunger, when your hunger hormones are balanced, when your blood sugar is down, it just feels like a gentle roll. It doesn't feel like an emergency. So, sorry, I know I interrupted you.
Okay. No. It's all good. So let's say someone were to start becoming more mindful of where they're at on the hunger scale, and they notice that they're eating when they're at like a +1, 2 most of the time, and they never actually get to the like actually feeling hungry. Okay, so they notice that they're aware. I'm just eating to eat, even though I'm not hungry. Okay, so they notice it. What are some tactical strategies or maybe mindset strategies that you can help them go through to help them feel okay feeling hungry or waiting to feel hunger, right? Because I think there's a part of it where it's like, oh my God, I'm starting to feel hungry and it gives me anxiety. I don't want to.
I'm afraid of my hunger. Yeah, my clients at the beginning of working with me, like they're very afraid. Some of them, not all of them, but some of them are very afraid of their hunger because they don't trust themselves.
Right.
Yeah.
So how do you work through that?
Yeah. So, okay, let me say this in the simplest of forms. So first, I would probably get their buy-in. Like, I don't want to make them do something that they don't want to do or they don't feel safe doing. So I would have a conversation around like, why do you want to feel hungry? And I want to know from them, like, why do they want to experience those cues? Because again, I don't want to like push someone to some place that they don't feel good about going. So that would be like first thing, like, why do you want to do that? And then usually they will say something like, well, I want to like get to know my body. I want to like heal my hunger hormones. Like if my hunger hormones, and of course I have educated them on all of this, like why it's so amazing to balance your hunger hormones. We could talk about that later too. But once they're kind of bought in, like, yes, I do want to do this, then what I will teach them is how to feel fear. So if they're like, I'm scared, if they're saying to me, I'm scared to let myself go to a -2 or -3 or -4, even a -1, we can talk about that. Like, what are you actually scared of? This is where the coaching comes in. Like, what are you scared of? And then they'll be like, well, I'm scared like that I can't trust myself. I'm scared that I'll get too hungry and then I will eat like all of my husband's leftover pizza. And I don't want to do that because that's not like a part of it's not my goal, right? And so we'll go through all the reasons they're scared. And we'll like literally, like I call it like Marie Kondoing the brain, because it's like, what, like, fear, anxiety, all of that feels so nebulous. But if we can like break it down, let's hear all of the reasons why you're scared, and then let's counter all of them. Okay, so maybe somebody says, I don't feel like I can trust myself. So then we'll play with that thought. When is the time that you have been able to trust yourself? When is the time that you've been scared in the past about something else and you were able to trust yourself? And then they'll give me an example. And then um, maybe we'll talk about, okay, so let's actually plan what you are going to eat, right? So you do get to a -2 or -3. Let's actually have a plan so that you feel like, okay, I know what I'm going to eat when I do then get hungry. So then I'd have a plan. Then I might have a mantra for them. I am safe to feel hungry. Like I am safe to feel hungry. Like it is okay to feel hungry. I have my own back here. And then I would also coach them, teach them that it's okay if there's a little fear there too. You're going there, you're starting to feel the -2, and you feel a little fearful. That's okay. Fear is just a vibration in our bodies. Any emotion is just a vibration in our bodies. And that's a huge part of what I teach my clients is like emotions, feelings are just vibrations in our bodies. And they don't have to make us do or not do anything. And the work is like moving towards them, making friends with them. I know it's a little cheesy, but like really the problem with so many of these emotions like fear and anxiety is the resistance to them. That's what's so painful. The actual fear, the actual anxiety, they just want some attention. They just want some love. They just want to be heard. And so again, without being too lengthy, that's what we really dive deep in my program, among so many other things. But I teach this thing called like the feelings party and the now feeling work, like how to feel and feeling right in the moment. And we can go into any of this. But yeah, that's sort of how I would help somebody if they were really scared. Are you sure you want to do this? Get their buy-in. Then make a plan for what they're going to eat. Then counter the thoughts that are causing the fear. And then give them a mantra of I am safe, and then expect the fear to be there and welcome it in.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think it's so true because like for me and probably a lot of people on this call is like, we just have this habit of like, every time we eat dinner, then we have a scoop of ice cream, like without even thought, or like we just have a piece of chocolate without any thought to it. And then the thought of changing that habit is freaking scary. You're like, oh my gosh, you mean I just sit on the couch and like don't have anything in my hands? Like what?
Yeah.
Like, this is so uncomfortable. It is so uncomfortable to just change that habit. And so I totally get what you mean about just sit with it, take a breath, like you're going to be okay. You're safe. You can do this for one night. Like you can.
Yeah.
But like for whatever reason, it's so hard for us to like lean into that discomfort.
I talked about emotional eating at the beginning as like anytime you're using food for what it's not for, anytime, like, right? Again, if hunger isn't the problem, food isn't the solution. But here's what's so cool that you picked up on, Jenny, is there's another piece to emotional eating that comes up when you're changing the habits and you're saying no thank you to yourself, or you're saying no thank you to the cupcake or the ice cream. Then there's the emotion that rises that we haven't talked about that, right? So emotional eating is nuanced. Like if you want to become somebody who doesn't eat for emotional reasons, yes, there's the emotion of like stress or relief that you want to numb out or soothe, you want to soothe, right, with the ice cream. And then there's the emotion you're left with when you say no thank you to yourself. So it's like a double whammy. So like, and then that goes back into like, what is this ice cream doing for me? And how can I give that to myself in other ways? And then also, that's like good coaching. What I would describe as great coaching is sometimes those ways aren't going to be available to you. Like food is a great hit. It's quick, it's easy. We have lower brains. Our lower brains are dopamine seeking freaking missiles. Like they are going to find dopamine. They're gonna. So like I really try to teach my clients to plan for dopamine, to plan your dopamine, to plan healthy dopamine instead of destructive dopamine. Like I call it, like let's plan for delicious dopamine, like Netflix with your bestie, or a walk in the sunshine. I know it sounds like cliche and like Instagram, whatever, like, or just like laying on the couch with my crochet, or like for me, it's like the porch swing with a book. And I will give it to you guys. Like when you find things that soothe you or give you the stress relief or help you feel kind of rewarded, especially on like these long days, like with bosses and kids and partners, right? These long days, it's like, oh, I just want the ice cream. It's so easy. It's such an easy hit. And I'll give it to you. Like you going on your porch swing and reading a book is not going to be as, you're not going to get as high as you will with ice cream. And so that's why I really like, there's good coaching on like, let's have all these things we can do that's us taking care of us. But then let's also develop the skill of being with the discomfort. I'll talk about that in a second. But this is where compelling reasons comes in. So I have all my clients do compelling reason. And you guys might be familiar with this, but anytime you have a goal or intention or something that you want to create, like it's really helpful to have, I have my clients do like 20 compelling reasons. Like, why do I want to create this? And then I also like for them to have the feeling behind it. Okay, so like, I want to lose weight for the last time because I want to be able to say yes on a whim when my daughter asks me to go down the water slide. And I want to feel comfortable in my bathing suit. And it's like, but like, why? Like, how am I going to feel if I can have that, if I create that? Oh, I'm going to feel free. I'm going to feel light. I'm going to feel alive. So when you have a goal, make sure you have at least 20 compelling reasons as to why you want to create that. And then make sure you have a feeling attached to each reason. Because like rock a bikini, I mean, it's kind of compelling. But like, why do you want to rock that? Like, how is it going to feel in your body when you are rocking that bikini or that bathing suit or that little black romper? Because then you can use those compelling reasons in the discomfort. So you're like, okay, I'm going outside reading my stupid book and like lay on the porch and I'm not gonna have my ice cream and wet. I would baby yourself a little bit. Like that's what I do. I'm like, poor us. This does suck. We love ice cream. But we want to do this because we want to go down on the water slide or we want to like go sledding or like mine are usually like shit I want to do with my kids that's like fun. Like I want to be a fun mom. Like I just want to be a cool, fun mom. Well, I'm not going to be cool. I'm not cool. But I want to be a fun mom. I want to say yes to stuff. So my point here is that like you have those compelling reasons ready to go. It will help you in the discomfort. It's like, oh yeah, I'm doing this on purpose. This is me voting for my future self. Like any action, any decision is always a vote for your past self or your future self. Like who are you going to vote for? Like she's over here like rooting for you. Like, come on, go to the porch swing or get on the couch and get your favorite, like nobody wants this show on or, whatever. So I do think the compelling reasons really help. And sometimes you just, like people always say, well, I just need motivation to lose weight. Yeah, it's nice if you have it, but you don't need it. Sometimes, and I teach my clients how to do this, and again, Jenny, we can go into it more, but like, I really teach my clients how to sit with that discomfort if like the compelling reasons aren't working and the porch swing isn't working and the bubble bath isn't working and it's raining outside and we can't go for a walk, right? Like I really teach that too because there will be times when it just sucks and there isn't a Band-Aid in that. And that builds such like, emotional and mental toughness. Like, I'm so glad that I went through this journey because of how transformative it's been for me and in being able to apply this to all other areas of my life. I almost actually freaked out when I lost weight for the last time because I was like, shit, like if I can do that, like I can do anything. Like it sort of like was like a little, I mean, it's kind of fun too, but like now it's fun. But at the moment, it's like, oh, wow, I really can do anything. So I think it's really cool. It builds a lot of confidence.
Yeah. Well, I want to make sure that we can open it up to questions if anyone has it, but I do want to touch on one last question from me, which is you mentioned how to eat for blood sugar balance. I would love for you to kind of explain what that is and why that's important and like how you can start tweaking your nutrition to like help avoid the hormonal hunger.
Yeah, for sure. Okay. So explaining this in a way that's simple and concise, I'm going to say almost. Almost every time you eat, your blood sugar rises. Okay. Almost. Like, I just want to make this concise. I don't want to make this like a freaking biology lesson or whatever. So almost every time you eat, your blood sugar rises. What I would love is that your blood sugar does this. It rises and it falls. It rises and it falls. It rises and it falls. I don't want it to do, I mean, unless you want it to do this, which you probably don't. But again, I really want my clients having buy-in and wanting what they want. Like, I'm not here to prescribe anything. So what I would invite you to explore is creating this. So this is like the rolling hill. Like, you eat, it comes up, it goes down. You eat, comes up, it goes down. This is what you want your blood sugar curve to look like. This would be you being like fat adapted, you being, if you've ever heard the term insulin sensitive. Again, if you have questions about that, we can go into it. Fat adapted just means that your body can use the fat on your body for fuel without a big temper tantrum. Your body can always use the fat on your body for fuel, but if you're not fat adapted, if you're not insulin sensitive, there's going to be a big temper tantrum and lots of hanger. Okay, so what I would not like, what you probably don't like, is this: big peaks and troughs, big peaks and valleys, spiking your blood sugar, crashing back down, spiking up, spiking down. So if you eat something that is heavily processed, I'm not saying packaged, heavily ultra processed, or something that's very high in simple carbohydrates. So if you eat something that has like a lot of processed sugar or a lot of flour, or I mean, think of like a freaking croissant with chocolate inside of it. Not bad or wrong. Not just completely neutral food. Probably maybe a little fun, like you're in France, let's eat a chocolate croissant, right? But what it's going to do is it's going to spike your blood sugar. And when your blood sugar spikes, it cues your insulin to rise as well. Insulin is a fat storage hormone. Nobody teaches us this. What? It's like, we just like think insulin, diabetes. What? No. So blood sugar spikes, insulin spikes. Insulin is a fat storage hormone. So excess insulin is being released that we don't really want swimming around in our bodies. Again, I'm trying to make this as layman terms as possible. So not only are you releasing excess insulin and cueing your body to store fat, you're also blocking the release of the fat on your body if you want to release fat on your body during this time. Then it's like a triple whammy. Okay, so the first two: store fat, block the release of the fat on my body. This first two, and then you crash, and then you're so hangry. So this would be like if you ever eat a carby breakfast and then you're like starving 2 hours later. It's because you got a huge peak and then a huge trough. Or like, even like this will happen to me sometimes where I can feel like my blood sugar is off or my hunger hormones are off if like I eat a big, rich, like Italian meal on like a Saturday night, and then Sunday morning I'm like starving. It's because my blood sugar is still like doing this. You feel so much better when you're here. Like, I feel like just so energetic. I feel so like myself when I'm like this. It feels like this. It's the worst. I need to take a nap. I'm hangry. My sleep is off. And I didn't talk about leptin and ghrelin. Your hunger hormones are insulin, leptin, and ghrelin. But when your insulin's doing this, your leptin and ghrelin are also most likely imbalanced. Those hormones are responsible for cueing you, hey, like, we're hungry. Hey, we're full. Hey, it's time to move our bodies. And so if those are off, it's a disaster. It also can screw, try not to swear so much. I didn't ask Jenny if I'm allowed to swear. It can also screw with your sex hormones. So estrogen, progesterone, testosterone. It's like almost impossible to balance those. Now I'm like heading towards perimenopause. So I am like a psycho. I'm like, I want to train for perimenopause. I'm training for this shit. Like, let's go. Like, give me some freaking creatine here. So like, my point in that is you really want your hunger hormones balance going into perimenopause because our sex hormones are going to do their thing. And we want to blunt as many symptoms as we can going in. So again, the insulin, leptin, and ghrelin directly affect your progesterone, estrogen, and testosterone. So
this is wonderful. Okay, please share with us, how do we create valleys for our blood sugar?
Thank you. Okay. So if you have a diet brain like I used to, you probably want to be like a perfectionist and like do all of the things by yesterday. And what I would invite you in is to 1% change. If you study habit change and the science behind it, that's what actually works. Right? So, like, it's so interesting, you guys. I have, oh my God, Joy, so funny. So, okay, so I have recently joined the 6 a.m. club and sometimes the 5 a.m. club, and I'm like obsessed with it. I love it. I still get my 8 to 9 hours of sleep. I'm a psycho about sleep because don't get me started, but that all affects all this. It's great. I wanted to do it. And the way that I realized I'm driving my kid to school today, I'm like, huh, I created that habit. That's so cool. And I created it by doing 1% incremental changes, not by white knuckling it, not by willpowering it, just little changes and not trying to be perfect, doing B minus work. Okay, so let me actually answer Jenny's question, but I had to tell you guys that first because then I'm going to start to tell you what to do this and you're going to want to do all the things by yesterday. Okay, so there's a lot of things that you can do. Exactly, Joy. So, like when my clients come into my program, I give them what I call the platter, and they can pick things off the platter so that they can create their plan. Their plan, so we use the scientific method inside the Yummy Mommy experience, which is my 6-month program. We use a scientific method. Scientific method teaches you, go back to 5th grade for a second, that you create a hypothesis. You have a hypothesis, and then you go out and you collect data, and then you look at that data, and then you iterate. You create a new hypothesis. You keep iterating, test and retest, right? And then you get a working theory. Okay, so all of my clients have the same hypothesis. If I eat on plan, a plan that balances my hunger hormones, then I will lose the excess fat that I want to lose on my body fairly effortlessly. That's our hypothesis. So they pick things from the plan platter, things you can pick. No processed sugar. You could also call it processed sugar free. If you don't like the word no, if you feel like, oh, that's diety, you could say, now I'm processed sugar free. Like people are gluten free, so that's fine. I'm processed sugar free. I'll get clients and they'll be like, before they join my program, they're like, I can't just give them a food group. And I'm like, lady, processed sugar is like not a food group. Like this is like literally something, processed sugar is not wrong or bad. It's just something that we got really smart about. We created it so that we can make money as humans. Like, look at the food industry. Like, we could go down that whole freaking tangent too. Things you could pick: processed sugar, flour, intermittent fasting. I don't like intermittent fasting unless you're doing no sugar and no flour because it's so hard because you'll be hangry. And if you do intermittent fasting, I can talk all about intermittent fasting. If you do intermittent fasting, other things you could pick: no snacking. Snacking is usually an emotional eat. No seconds. I mean, those are the main things. Looking at other processed foods that you might eat, looking at other things that could spike you, like French fries. Like, I still eat carbs. Like, this is not no carb land. I still eat lots of fruit, lots of vegetables. Like, I had not huge, because I didn't want to get to like a +6. But I had like a nice portion for myself of rice last night. And that's where we test and test. So I like to have like my clients do lowest, most effective dose. It's like, why would you take 4 Advil for a headache when 2 is going to work, right? It's like, maybe no sugar, no flour is perfect for you. Maybe just no processed sugar is perfect for you. So those are like things that you could start with. Like, even like if you don't want to do intermittent fasting, like no eats after 8, no eats after 7, like looking at that. I also encourage my clients to do what I call like a yummy mummy munchie. So like, say you're going to do no sugar, no flour. I encourage them to do 1 to 2. I like 1. Some of my clients even do 1 small one a day, like 1 to 2 yummy mummy munchies, which would be like for me, I would pick like creme brulee, or I'd pick like pizza, or I'd pick pasta or something that's like my favorite that I'll have once a week, and I'll plan it that week. And it's like off plan. I don't like to call it like a cheat meal or like a cheat day. Like cheat days like don't work. Like for me and my clients, like just like does not work. Like 80/20 does not work for me. For me, I had to like mourn the loss of like 80/20. I'm like, it's like 98 too. But honestly, once your hunger hormones are balanced and your blood sugar is balanced, like you don't want to go back to eating in a way that looks like this on the CGM, the continuous glucose monitor.
I love it. It's so great. And a lot of them are learning about blood sugar and like making sure that your food has protein in it, fiber in it to
Yes.
mitigate that blood sugar spike. So
Yeah.
that's a big focus and particularly in breakthrough. Awesome. Well, this has been helpful. I want to open it up to anyone who has any specific questions. You're more than welcome to unmute yourself or you can just ask it in the chat. And if you don't have a question, then you can maybe share a takeaway, something that you heard from Laura that you're like, oh, that's a really good idea. Does anyone have any questions or takeaways?
I have a question about the platter. So, in alignment with progress, not perfection, right? So, like, let's say you were like, let's say you were to say no more, I'm sorry, processed sugar free or something, and that's what you committed to. But so is what you're saying is that you would maybe treat yourself every once in a while to a treat, but because you are doing the progress piece of it's not just cut it off, but you're being mindful of taking processed sugar out of your diet, but also because you're just starting this journey, you might have a treat once a week or twice a week until your body just no longer craves it anymore.
That's
Or
kind of what ends up happening. I mean, I have some clients that still do their yummy mummy munchie like once a week or twice a week or a small one every day or whatever. But like for me, when I was losing weight for the last time and really developing this method, like I knew every single week exactly what my yummy mummy munchie was going to be. Like, but like this week, I probably won't have one because I just don't care that much. Like
Okay.
most of us have been conditioned to have an over desire for food. So we overeat food and then we're over our natural weight or our happy weight. And through a process that I teach, like we're basically like Pavlovian dogs, a process that I teach, we decondition that over desire to a natural desire for food. And when we have that, we eat a natural amount of really mostly whole foods. And then we weigh our natural weight or our happy weight. So yeah, you kind of don't want it. And it just depends. But yeah, that's what I recommend because I don't like this all or nothing. And I just think it makes it easier, honestly, too. It's like I gave the example of why are you in the pantry? Is it because you need comfort? Okay, well, let's go watch Netflix and get like that heavy blanket and get our special like chocolate tea. Like I still teach Band-Aids. Like I love this one cacao bliss drink. And so some of my clients will do that or they'll make themselves something else they can have in their hands, right? And that can also help. Like, I'm gonna get my favorite creme brulee on Saturday. Like the cheddar bunnies aren't actually doing anything for me, really. Like it's not even that, they're not even that good. And that's also kind of a fun way to weigh it. It's like, would I save this for my joy eat? Because or my yummy mummy munchie, sometimes we call it joy eats. But anyways, I like to encourage my clients to plan their yummy mummy munchies 24 hours or more in advance. Because what you do is then you end up using your prefrontal cortex versus your lower brain. Your lower brain is designed to, it like operates on the motivational triad, seek pleasure, avoid pain, and do it as easy as possible. So it's going to try to get you to get, like in my clients, their lower brains get super clever as they journey on. It's going to throw all the thoughts at you to try to get you to eat whatever, cheddar bunnies. I don't know why I'm talking about cheddar bunnies or chocolate covered almonds or whatever. It's going to throw all the stops at you because it wants pleasure, seek pleasure, avoid pain. What's painful? Saying no, thank you to the chocolate covered almonds. And it wants to do it as easy as possible. So,
no. So I think you had mentioned, because I don't have much of a sweet tooth, but my weakness is French fries and salty, snacky things. And the nice thing about French fries is that I don't have access to them unless I make them and I don't make them. But it's hard for me, like when I'm out with friends, and even if I don't order French fries, someone at the table orders French fries. So yeah, so that's what I like that because it's not all or nothing. But my hope would be that it would just get to the place where it's like, no, I don't need that or want that.
Yeah, which it just feels like, honestly, like if I told that sentence, like, no, I just don't even want it. I don't even need it. Like, I'm good. If I like told my past self, like 10 years ago, past self, like there will be a day where you could just like go sit at dinner and like not pick at all of your husband's French fries. Like, I would not have believed you. I'd be like, you're crazy. That's bananas. Like, okay. And here I am. And it's just like, it's just not, food is just not number one anymore. Like, it's just not my favorite thing anymore. I still like it a lot, but like other things, I always talk about the deathbed. I'm like, let's talk about your deathbed. Like, are you gonna be like, oh yeah, French fries? I mean, you might be about like that one place that has that really one good French fry. But like most of the food that we're eating that's causing us to not feel the way that we want to feel, like, is not the French fry of like the year 2024. So it's like, you're gonna be on your deathbed. Like, what are you gonna look back and be like, yes, yeah, like those hikes or that vacation or those pickleball tournaments. I mean, you're like getting a weird window into my life. Yeah, I love pickleball. I'm so bored. So that's what I like to like. Where do I want food on my list of pleasures to be? I want it to be like number 9. Like go in your place, food. Oh my God, that's so fun, Jenny.
Awesome.
We're gonna play. That is so fun. Okay, so does that answer your question? Emily had a question about teaching this to kids. Do you want me to answer that, Jenny?
Yeah, let's do it.
So, how would you teach this to kids? This is a huge topic that we coach on a lot because, like, for example, one of my clients, she just got called an almond mom by her daughter's friend. Have you guys heard of this almond mom thing? Okay, well, we can talk about it later. But Emily, so can you tell me about the arguments that happened because of it?
Well, like my kids just hit me up and they're like, "Hey, I'm hungry." And I'm like, "Dinner's in 2 hours. Go get something to drink." "I don't want something to drink." I'm like, "Okay, we'll go get an apple." "I don't want an apple." And I'm like, "Well, then you're not hungry." And we have this argument all the time, all the time. "Well, I want something sweet." I'm like, "No." Or especially after dinner, they'll have a huge dinner and they'll be like, "Now I need dessert." I'm like, but you don't need dessert. You want dessert. Let's pick something small. And then they'll be like, "Well, that's too small." And I'm like, but it's not a meal, it's dessert.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's almost every day we have this same argument. My
Okay.
kids are 9 and 11.
Yeah. Okay. So first of all, good job. I feel like you are teaching this to your kids. Like, and so what I always like to tell my clients is like, figure out what you believe about food and like what it's for. So you can teach it to your kids from a place of like a knowing. Like I get clients that like really know what they believe about spirituality or really know what they believe about marriage or really know what they believe about, maybe they're religious. They really know what they believe. And because they're so convicted in their beliefs about that thing, it's so easy for them to teach their kids. And it actually seems like, Emily, like you're pretty convicted and like you don't want your kids to eat for boredom purposes. Like it sounds like that's a pretty like solid belief for you. And so I actually think that you're doing a great job of teaching them that they just don't like it. And like they're not going to like it. And they're not supposed to like it. They're kids with lower brains, and their lower brains are way louder than their prefrontal cortex. So, like, I mean, honestly, I think you're doing a good job. What I would be curious about is you could take this or leave it, and we could kind of like riff on it a little bit. Maybe sometimes I like to include my kids in like the values we set and the rules we set for the household. And like sometimes they get more of a say than other times, right? And so again, this is where you would decide. And I think being like really clear with exactly what your rules are around food will make it easier for you. And I think that they'll stop bugging you over time when you're like super strict about like, okay, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, we get dessert. Monday through Thursday, we don't get dessert. If it's from 4 to 6 and we're going to eat at 6, fruit and vegetables are allowed. Nothing else is allowed. Whatever you want to like, you make a plan or a protocol for your household. You can include them in making that plan or not. And then you are just a little bit of a drill sergeant on like, this is what they will eventually stop asking. They will. I think. I mean, I don't have 9 and 11-year-olds yet, and I don't have your kids. So, but most of the, and this is what our lower brains do too. So if you decide you want to stop boredom eating, your brain's going to keep trying to eat for boredom purposes. But then you go, no, 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 no. And then it's like gives up. It's like my kids with screen time. It's like, can we do our iPads? Can we do our screen time? No, no. They stopped asking because like I was relentless about the answer. And so it's hard a little bit at the beginning, but then it like eventually gets easier. So I don't know if any of that resonates. Okay, good. And if you have anything to say, let me know. Or
No,
more
that
follow-up
sounds really good. My 11-year-old's constantly saying to me, "You need to put me on a diet," and I'm constantly saying to her, "I don't need to put you on a diet. You just need to make better food choices." So,
Okay, why does she say you need to put me on a diet? Do you know?
she's a little overweight. I mean, she's kind of outgrowing it now that she's getting taller and going through puberty and all that. But also, I think she realizes that she makes poor food choices. We're on vacation right now, so it's not the best example. But even still, I try to encourage them to move or, okay, let's go do something. And if you're still hungry, then we can take a snack with us or something. And,
Okay.
but they
Okay,
just,
like give yourself so much credit. Like I want you to like think about like every day, this is going to be kind of a big ask, but like every day I want you to remember like why you're an amazing mom and why you're like supposed to be her mom and like you are the perfect person for this job. Okay, so that's number one. We can only change from really that place of like knowing like, okay, I'm the perfect mom, I'm doing a good job, I'm learning as I go. I've never parented an 11-year-old daughter before. Like I'm learning this. And so she's asking you then like, Mom, I need you to put me on a diet. And you're like, okay, I just need you to make better choices. I wonder if she needs help making better choices because of her lower brain. Her lower brain is like lit the F up on like seek pleasure, avoid pain, like making a better choice when you're 11 is like almost impossible. Like it's almost impossible for us to make better choices. Like I struggled with this for 20 years. And some of the dudes out there, like they can just like eat no sugar, no flour. It's like not a problem. It's like they just lose 20 pounds in like a week. And it's like, I didn't actually know how to make better choices until I learned how to make better choices through hunger hormone balance, mindset, emotions, and like basically what we talked about here. So I think, I mean, you could share some of this with her or help her make better choices in the moment, but that's a big ask, I think. And don't interpret what I'm saying as like you're doing it wrong. You're not, you're doing it perfect. You asking these questions is you doing it right. And I just want to like commend you for that because I am giving you some like blunt, like very forward coaching and because of time purposes. And also I love you. I really do. My clients think I'm so weird when I tell them I love them like right off the bat. I'm like, I literally do. So you're doing amazing. I'm not saying you're not doing amazing. And she just has a lower brain that's like, yeah, it's like, it's hard parenting these kids in our culture.
Yeah. I think we're all just doing our best.
Yeah.
Right? And we're all learning together and you just have to give yourself a lot of grace, like eat for you and for your children. I think like that's a really big takeaway.
Yeah.
Amazing. So go ahead, share with us where we can follow you on social media and what you have to potentially offer in case people want to learn more about working with you or just getting any freebies that you have.
Yeah. Okay. So you guys can go to plan.lauraconley.com. I can send this to Jenny too, in case she wants to like send it out to you guys. This is a free resource. Well, it's free for you guys. We usually charge for it, but it's like create your perfect weight loss plan. It just follows a lot of the things that we talked about today. If you guys have any questions, you can always reach out to me. Instagram is a fine way to reach out to me at Laura Conley Coaching. I have a podcast. If you guys are podcast listeners, it's called Lose Weight for the Last Time with Laura Conley. And my website is lauraconley.com.
This was so helpful. And I just love like your mindset around things. And it's a breath of fresh air because like all of us have been just so bombarded over years and years of like what not to do, what to do, like structure, plan, like numbers, blah, blah. And it's just like so overwhelming. And I think if we can just tune into our own bodies and like learn to trust it and learn to listen to it, like a lot of these problems can go away. So I really appreciate you sharing all this today.
I appreciate you. Thanks for having me. It was so fun. I get so lit up. It's so fun chatting about this stuff. If you guys have any questions, like do not hesitate to reach out. And thanks for being here. And Jenny gets to come and teach my yummy mummies, which I'm so excited about.
Yay, can't wait.
I know.
All right, ladies, thank you so much for being here. And thank you, Laura. I so appreciate you. And we'll see you guys next time. Have a good
Thank you
day.
guys so much. Bye, you guys.